Dang, man. I forgot to write an intro for our episode.
Oh, dude. Don't even worry about it. I got something written down right here.
Do you? Welcome to another episode of Allegedly a Podcast. I am Lucas, and today I am joined by my friend, forever college student, and lover of worldwide open-wheel racing, known as Formula One, Mr. Sean McGowan.
Hey, I'll get out of college eventually. I'll be done school.
Once he has all the degrees, he'll be out. But like I said today, he's an avid Formula One lover. And as many people might not know, me and Sean, for a short time, did do a Formula One podcast.
So we had like 6 episodes, and we never got it to work. Honestly, we never seriously did it either.
But it was fun. I had fun doing it. And so me and Sean have a shared love of Formula One. But as I've gone, I've also got into watching IndyCar as another sport, as another option, as another open wheel racing. And I thought to myself, you know what? I know a pretty decent amount about IndyCar. Sean knows a decent amount about Formula One. I feel like we should really talk about it and really compare and contrast and let people know, whether you watch that kind of racing or not, what's the appeal on both sides, which one's better, and is one viewed as more highly regarded as another. And I think on that side, there's yes and no's on both sides. But we'll start it off. Sean, I'll just let you give what was a brief description. In maybe it doesn't have to be in like certain terms, but in like your terms of Formula One.
Man, you're putting me on the spot here, huh? Yeah. Like, you just want me to describe like what it is?
Yeah, just in your own words. So just for like anyone.
Formula One is cars that go fast. You said simple words.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, I mean they're cars that go fast. One of the main draws I think that a lot of people decide, or they watch Formula One over other things, is because it's not they don't do ovular racing.
Ovals, yeah,
whatever the term for that is. They don't do ovals. They do street circuits. They do track circuits, but they never do ovals. And they go really quick. There's not hundreds of people on the track. If there's only 20, sometimes 22 or 24 if you go years back. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they go really fast. It's and it's I mean, I'm sure this is the same for like IndyCar and other sports. It's also team racing, so there's team side, there's individual side. So, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's cool to see different. It's not stock car, so every team has like a budget. A certain amount of money that they can spend. And so it's like, it's very interesting to see not only who's quick, but who is able to adapt to changing regulations and can make their car faster, even if you don't have a limited, or you have a limited budget.
Yeah, because the biggest thing I think about Formula One that's different than any other series, every year they build new cars for that entire season. It's not, hey, we're going to use this same generation of car for years and years, where they use the kind of same type of like engines and stuff like that, but for the most part, like the chassis and the aerodynamics, they kind of change it up due to the fact that the regulations change. Am I wrong?
I mean, no, you're right. No, I was saying, you said about they build different cars, but we'll get into AlphaTauri's whole mess. Yeah. What are they now? Visa, Cash App, RB, or something stupid like that. Racing Bulls.
That and you could also say about Racing Point / Aston Martin, who kind of copied Mercedes, or at least that's.
We'll get into
that. But we can talk about that later.
Get into that.
But we have that, but this Formula One, it's worldwide. They go all over the world. They race North America, South America,
except for
Middle
South
East.
Africa. Still waiting on that race to come by.
I was about to say it's been years since they've done that, but like they basically race all over the world.
What are some of the top Formula One races?
Josh is here too.
Yeah,
complete outsider.
Yeah. No,
somebody that doesn't know anything about Formula One.
That's a very valid question. I will say that's a good question. I say we come.
We'll put a pin in it.
That's a good question. We will come back to it.
Come from the perspective of somebody who tries to get into Formula One, but is very much like, I don't know
making a note of it
or when these races are happening and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's a big challenge
Oh, yeah.
for American audiences to get into it.
Oh yeah, no, you're not wrong, because I think that's one of the decent draws of IndyCar. So we'll just pivot real quick, and I'll give a kind of brief.
So
description
Grohl,
of IndyCar.
what's a nice description of IndyCar in your own words?
So IndyCar is basically, I would say, a more Americanized version of what Formula One is, because number one, IndyCar mostly is run in the United States. The biggest difference, another really thing that separates it, is that IndyCar does run on oval tracks. They don't run on a lot. They do mostly run on road courses and street courses, similar to Formula One. But they, like I said, kind of similar to NASCAR, they do run oval tracks. That mostly kind of comes at different parts of the season, mostly at the end of their season. But you definitely have different manufacturers than you have in Formula One. Other than, I think Honda is in IndyCar and Formula One.
It's technically in Formula One.
Technically in Formula One, but you also got I think it's just Chevy and Honda that are in IndyCar. Because that's also a really big thing where there's not as much, I guess, variability in the cars that are in IndyCar. It's basically Honda and Chevrolet supplying the engines to the teams. Whereas in Formula One, we were kind of talking each team. They do have for the most part, have their own engine supplier, and most of those engine suppliers are Mercedes.
Yep.
It's still technically Renault / Alpine still. But they're pivoting to something else.
I think they're pivoting to Cadillac now.
I thought they were pivoting to pivoting to someone. Engines. I don't know. And then you got who's that? So I said Mercedes. Ferrari builds their own engines, and they supply the teams, and then you do have Red Bull, who supplies technically their two teams.
Not yet.
No, well, yeah, Honda. It's Honda.
It's Honda right now, yeah. And then I think they swapped over to I think they're calling themselves Red Bull powertrains, but they're still using Honda engines. And then I think I haven't looked into this very much, but I heard rumors that they were going to switch to Ford in 2026 when the new engine regulations come through.
So a lot of convoluted stuff in Formula One, because a lot of the teams switch engine manufacturers, or they try to build their own engines, and it's crazy. Whereas IndyCar, it's Chevrolet or Honda. Yeah, that's basically, depending on what team you're on, you're either Chevrolet or you're Honda.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. But from there, we can now go to Josh. Just as simple. So, like I said, Formula One, open wheel.
Explain it to me like I'm stupid.
Formula One. Cars go fast all around the world. IndyCar, cars go fast
around the
mostly around the United States. I would say North America, because I know they go to Mexico and they go into Canada.
Is there a speed difference?
Yes.
What's the cap on? Do they put dampers on?
So there's no cap on speed. The main thing in terms of speed is IndyCar goes faster technically. IndyCar goes faster because they have lighter cars. Technically, I think they also have more powerful engines, but the thing with F1 cars is they have a lot more maneuverability. You can turn that thing on a dime.
Yeah.
But they can still... I mean, I think the difference with top speed is only a couple...
Yeah.
Maybe like 20, 30 kilometers at most.
Kilometers
an hour.
Yeah. It's only a little bit, I would say. Again, I agree with Sean, because if you look at an IndyCar compared to a Formula One car, number one, Formula One cars' tires are a lot wider, bigger. They can get more grip, and that's why, like Sean said, they can turn on dime. Whereas Indy cars, they're more narrow. They're more built for, again, speed, and kind of how the new design of the Indy cars have a windscreen, so that number one also helps with aero and everything like that to help them go faster.
So I did look it up in terms of speed, and IndyCar, the pole position for the Indy 500 in 2022 was 234. Usual top speed for Formula One car is about 205, although the highest that they got was 231. I think the main thing is that IndyCar has less turns.
Yeah.
So,
technically,
because if Formula One cars don't have more turns, then in theory they don't have as much time to get up to that top speed.
Yeah.
So I think that could also be a thing.
Yeah, no, because like we said, Formula One is they only run on road courses.
Yeah.
There's not one oval in the Formula One
No,
season.
there's not a single oval.
Whereas, like I said, IndyCar, they do run on ovals. They end of the season, they are mostly running ovals till the end to really decide the championship.
Yep.
So, it's a good question. I was gonna say. And now we'll go back to your original question. So let's kind of talk about the big races for Formula One and IndyCar. IndyCar, we can just start with IndyCar. It's the Indy 500. Because not only do you have the guys who are the regulars in the IndyCar series, but you also get some of those teams that they only come out to run the Indy 500, or you get some of those guys who are really good racers who try because they just want to win. Fernando Alonso, a F1 champion, he came out and he tried to run. He didn't qualify for it. His goal is to eventually do that. Kyle Larson last year, NASCAR champion, came out. He qualified. He ran pretty well. There were Mario Andretti. He was an F1 champion, IndyCar champion. He obviously is famous for running in the Indy 500. Michael Andretti, his son, ran in the Indy 500, and he ran Formula One for a little bit. It just kind of shows how those connect. But
do you get a lot of guys that switch?
It's so.
Or is it like a Premier League guy that goes to the MLS and it's like, oh, this is like my last 2 years in the sport, and I just want.
It depends.
So the biggest thing, how I see it, IndyCar is kind of, if you age out of not being able to make it into Formula One, because here's the thing, a lot of times for drivers to make it into Formula One, you just got to be right time, right place, or you got to be really, really good, and the guy in front of you has to be just either struggling or just bad. Because some drivers, either that or they'll just go over to IndyCar and they'll race better or something like that. There are former F1 drivers in IndyCar right now. Marcus Ericsson, Roman Grosjean. There's some younger guys. Callum Ilott, he was a guy who was coming up through F2, F3. Yuri Vips, he was an Estonian driver. He had some. I'm not saying he was good, but he was coming up through the ranks. He may have made a mistake or two by saying something, and he lost his ride. Teo Porcher.
Really?
Yeah. He was running there.
That.
Yeah, he was also really. He was coming up through.
So I think the other thing too that we have to remember is that if you are actively racing in an F1 car, more than likely you are not racing in anything else.
Yeah.
If you are
Or even if you're not to cut you off.
Fine.
Just even if you're a reserve driver, if you're the guy,
a reserve driver, you can, because Teo Porcher isn't a reserve driver for somebody. I think so.
Is it McLaren? Because that's who he was racing
either
for.
Either that or Stoffel Van Dorn's still there.
But it just feels like, well, for the most part, like if you're a reserve driver, you could probably be racing something. But here's the thing: you're not racing in any of the lower. Most of the time, you're not going to be racing F2 because you've most likely either aged out or you've won that championship. Because once you win the F2 championship, you can't race in that anymore. So then basically it's like you got to go race something else and basically buy your time to get an F1 seat. But IndyCar, I was going to say, even Colton Herta there were rumors that he was possibly going to get a Formula One seat, which would have been awesome because I think... I don't know how Sean feels about it. I want to see a competitive American in F1. That would be awesome.
Hey, don't knock Logan Sargeant. He tried his best.
I'll do whatever. I know it. He wasn't on a great team, but again,
for those of you that are not in the know, Logan Sargeant. It is currently September 7th. Logan Sargeant got sacked last week from Williams because he wasn't doing well.
No.
And actually, I saw something today that said that he might go IndyCar.
There you go. I was going to say
sweet.
It's a logical choice because that's the thing. Roman Grosjean didn't. He lost his drive like twice in Formula One. He came to IndyCar, and I'm not saying anyone likes him, but
I like him.
He's a decent guy. He may not be the best driver, but if people want you and you're a decent driver, you can get drives in IndyCar because if you're open wheel racing, I would say those are the two top leagues for open wheel racing, because
It is.
everything below that
F2,
is
F3,
is basically
F4.
stepping stones
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah, the feeder series is what they call them.
Yep.
They call them feeder series.
Because I know IndyCar does have the IndyCar Next Series, and that's again just
that's true. Yeah, that's also their feeder series.
but it's not as well established, because IndyCar, not IndyCar, F1 is an established just league. You want to call it
you
league?
can call it a league.
League.
Sure.
They're well established. They have so much history. And IndyCar has kind of gone through phases of splitting, coming back together, splitting, coming, just a long history of division. And I don't know. Just I feel like I said, IndyCar is kind of, I think more people will look down. But how this all started, Indy 500, I would say is the most prestigious race. After that, there's not much.
Daytona,
There's
maybe?
not they.
Or no, they don't race at Daytona.
No, they don't race
shoot,
at Daytona.
No.
They race at a lot of.
They raced at Daytona.
I'm trying to think of there's a couple good. The
Laguna-
Detroit race. I know they started racing at Nashville. I'm not gonna say those are big races, but
Do they still race at Laguna Seca?
yep, they still race. That was the one I was thinking of.
Laguna Seca's a good one.
Laguna Seca, I feel like, is a pretty big one.
For us that live in Ohio, Mid Ohio is also really cool.
Mid Ohio.
I went there for one of their races back in like May or June. I thought it was pretty sweet.
Road America. In Wisconsin. I wanted to go to that race. I didn't get to go this year, but yeah, IndyCar again. It's a real American. They hit all those like states, those racy states, other than the ones that just have the road course and everything like that.
Yep.
But Indy 500, obviously everyone knows the Indy 500, and that's the biggest IndyCar race, and I think it has a lot of prestige behind it. Sean?
So Formula One has, I think they have more than one.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think they have maybe 4.
Okay, I obviously know one.
So the first one is the most prestigious one that has the most history is Monaco.
Yep.
So another thing, since you are an outsider and you are kind of looking in, there is something called the Triple Crown of Motorsport.
Yep.
And so they are the top. If you are a Triple Crown winner, if you win the top 3 races in motorsport, like most prestigious races. So there's Indy 500, there's the Monaco GP, and then there is the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yep.
And
So I was going to ask how Le Mans is that part of the Formula?
No. That is
endurance.
That is called that's from the WEC World Endurance Championship.
Okay.
So it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Race, but I
Yeah.
knew that
So
there's a bunch of leagues. That's its own thing. Rally Car has their own league.
Yeah, it's impressive because you literally have to go from. I would say 3 different styles of driving. You go from
But you don't
Monaco.
take a Formula One car.
No. These are all 3 different cars.
They took a NASCAR to it last year, and it was electric.
Yeah, so that's the thing about, and
We'll get into 24 hour.
Just a quick like sidebar on this. I don't want to get too far off track,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Indy 500, you're going really fast. You're going around more of a rectangle, if anything, around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're going at incredible speeds. Monaco, you are going around tight corners, slow.
I think average speed at Monaco is about 90 miles per hour.
And the bad thing is the Formula One cars are getting bigger, and the track is they can't make it bigger because it's in a city. Yeah, they're long, they're wide.
But the thing is, it's in a street circuit. It is a street. You cannot make it any bigger.
Yeah.
So
it's like technical. It's very
it's a whole thing. It's a whole debate right now whether or not it even deserves to be on the calendar. I still think it does. It's prestigious, but something needs to change.
They either need to change. They either need to make a special car for that track or something. But it's technical. The best way you can win that, number one, is to qualify on
first.
pole. But also you need your pit strategy to work out, or the cautions to fall your way. Then you have 24 Hour Le Mans. It is what it is. You're driving. Not one dude's driving for 24 hours, but
3 guys.
3 guys are driving one car for 24 hours, and you have to keep that car. It's world endurance. It takes endurance to drive a car for each one driving it 1/3 of a day.
Yep.
1/3 of 24 hours. which so you're all doing it as one, but again, one of your guys falters, you miss it.
And that has their whole list of rules. I mean, we're not going to get into it, like I said.
Yeah,
but that has its whole list of rules that it requires.
But
WC would require its own episode at this point. Because that's a whole thing. And oh my god, it's just annoying.
But it's the Triple Crown due to the fact of how hard
each one is.
Because each one takes something different out of a driver. You got to be a good driver, but it's going to take a little more skill, a little more of one trait to win each one. Yep. So you got Monaco as one of them.
My probably the second one I would say is more than likely Silverstone.
Yeah, that's fair.
British GP.
Yeah, British GP's good.
Just because the course is very historic, I think it was actually one of the first races that they've ever ran on. It's a very nice track. Another one that people always pander over is Spa. Because Spa has it's Belgium. Yeah. Has a lot of good wet races. Yeah. Because it rains so much there. And then for a fourth one, I gotta look at the calendar. Honestly,
I thought you were gonna go. Because they run at the small Nürburgring, right?
Yeah, because they can't. So they used to.
I thought you were gonna say that.
They used to run it, but they don't anymore. Yeah, but Josh's specific question was, if you wanted to get into it now, they don't run that anymore.
For an American audience.
Yeah. For an American audience, I mean, Coda.
I was gonna say Imola. I think Imola is pretty good. I don't know. Italian Grand Prix.
Depends on the year.
Okay. I don't know. I think
for me at least depends on the year.
Imola is a fast course, and I feel like that's one of the more interesting and passing tracks because not all Formula One tracks are great for overtakes and passing.
Looking at you, Monaco. We've been over.
Yeah, Monaco, just like that. But I wouldn't say that. What was it? Circuit of the Americas is bad. I do like it. For
an American audience who's just getting into
Brazilian Grand Prix. That one's also pretty.
No, the only reason why I don't like Brazil is because I'm gonna get into a huge tangent. I'm just gonna cut myself off now because I have beef with the Brazil GP, mainly because of its placement on the calendar. But essentially, I'm only saying Coda because again, for Josh's specific question, for United States track, because the United States races that we have right now is Coda, which has been around since 2012, 2014, somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere.
Miami, which is awful. Miami sucks.
Yeah, I don't really like Miami.
Really?
The Miami race sucks.
I saw hype about that. Not before the race, just in terms of there's a race in Miami.
The track is just
outsider.
The track isn't good. Actually, if you go back and look at video, you can see on like Twitter people making fun of. They have a fake harbor inside the track where it's like 5 full-size boats on like fake water.
Yeah. It's
painted over concrete. It's nasty.
Miami GP is not great. I think Vegas got theirs last year, and the track design's not great.
Josh, I don't know if you can see this, and I don't know if the camera's going to be able to pick up this. It looks like an upside-down pig.
Yeah. It
looks gross.
It's not great, but to be fair, if you look up the first Vegas GP, that looks way better than what the original one looks like. But that was held in the parking lot of the MGM Grand.
Was it? I thought it was Caesar's Palace.
It was one of them.
It was in a parking lot. The track went like this.
Like, not even a joke. And then, that's it. That was the track.
That was the whole track. It was awful. Now, mind you, that was like the 70s or 80s. But
again, Formula One, not big in America at the time.
And definitely because of that. Yeah, it was Caesar's Palace. My bad. 81 to 84.
Yep, my bad. Caesar's Palace. Vegas and Miami aren't. That's why Coda is an established track, and it's
an actual track. It's not a street. It's not a street race. It's an actual track.
Because NASCAR does race there. I don't think IndyCar does.
I thought IndyCar used to. They used to.
I don't think they do anymore. At
some point they did.
But no.
But yeah, if you wanted to get into any of those racing, those would probably be your main ones. Would be those 4. And it's good too because they are spread out on the calendar.
Yeah.
So you mentioned placement in the season and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For an outsider, when does the Formula One season start?
So
What is the first race of the season?
race 1. So they do a weekend of testing. I have it pulled up.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Okay. Yeah. So they usually do a weekend of testing, and that's open to the public. Round 1 this year started was February 29th to March 2nd. So they do 3 days. Format is normally 2 practices, a practice qualifying, and then race on Sunday. That's the typical thing. So this year it goes from beginning of March to the final race is beginning of December.
Okay.
Yep.
So normally you get about 90 days off, and then you're back to racing.
For IndyCar, their season starts about. So
time?
how they do it? They start around first 2 weeks of March, and then how most of their schedule is they go, or at least this. I'm just using this past year's schedule. So they start like second weekend of March, take a break next weekend, and then they
do like
then they go and then they go 3 weeks in a row from the last 2 weekends of April into May, and end of May right around what am I thinking of? End of May holiday.
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, and that's when they run the Indy 500 right at the end of May, and then June they only take 1 weekend off of racing.
How many races are on the calendar? Do you know? Just off the top of your head.
2, 4.
Well, he's doing that.
Yeah,
on the F1 calendar,
7.
there's 24.
Okay.
There was supposed to be 24 last year but they had to shut down China because of COVID problems.
16.
16? Okay.
16 races.
So
and
with Formula One, you have 8 more races.
Yeah.
is good
It's
or
more.
bad?
Yeah, IndyCar kind of.
When do they end?
They end next weekend at Nashville. So most of their ovals are at the end of the season. Like literally out of the last 6 races, 4 of them are ovals. In kind of how they do some of these tracks, like Iowa and Milwaukee, they do 2 races in one weekend. They do 1 race on Saturday and they do run 1 race on Sunday, just so that they can get 2 more. Because IndyCar, again, is a league that has gone through stages of losing money, and so I would say it's a smart idea to be able to do it 2 races back to back. They do 2 different qualifying sessions for each races, so it's not like they're going to do 1 qualifying session. That's how it starts for both. It's different, and that's the thing too with F1 and IndyCar is how they qualify, where it's like stages of qualifying. How Formula One does it, you have 3 qualifying stages. In the first qualifying stage, the 5 slowest cars get knocked out. Then in the second qualifying stage, the next 5 slowest cars get knocked out, and then the top 10 cars, whoever runs the fastest starts, and just down the list from there.
Yep.
IndyCar, they do groups, so they'll do 1 group, whoever the top 6 out of that, the 6 fastest move on, and then they do the next group, 6 fastest out of that move on, and then it gets to the 12. And then,
interesting.
Yeah, okay. And then all 12 of those guys will race out to see who gets top, basically.
Speaking of qualifying, I think another thing that's a huge difference is you can actually not qualify in IndyCar, right? Is that a thing? Or is it only for certain races that you can not qualify?
No, you can post time. For most part, the only time when you don't qualify, most like an Indy 500, because everyone.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Because here's the thing, for the most part, everyone qualifies for every race. The only time you might not qualify is the Indy 500, because a random team might come there with the best car they've ever put together, and they could out qualify you. So for it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, because that's when why they have a cutoff, or they have like last chance day when you see those like last cars qualifying, because They can, because they have so many entries for it. Yep. It's so prestigious. There are literal teams that just build a car for that one
That's what
race.
I was thinking,
they don't run anywhere else because they're like, we're just going to go to Indy and try to win this, because you win a lot of money just by winning Indy.
Yep.
And the fame and everything that comes with that. Yep. So everything else, like, no one really goes anywhere else.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right.
There's
I just wanted to make sure I got my facts
right. I can read names off of some of the places that they go. Good cities, good tracks, but no one. I was gonna say no one's literally going to that city just to run that race.
Yeah. Okay.
They're gonna go to Indy because of the prestige and the hype and everything.
Yeah, and also the fact that it, as we mentioned, it is the Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. Nope. Absolutely. So we've talked about the season, talked about the best races. Let's talk about the best drivers. I would say in
Logan Sargent. Sorry,
you can't say that.
I know he's not around anymore.
I know. Who? Okay, top three. What here? You can go talent, overall, just the best, and maybe favorite or just fan favorite. Let's go fan favorite there.
Fan favorite.
So
right now, Lando Norris.
Yep, that's fair.
I guess we're doing F1 first. All right.
Yeah.
Fan favorite right now, Lando Norris, just because he looks like a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. He's never gonna see this, but I'm so sorry. He might. I would think the top three in Formula One right now: Max Verstappen. I mean, it's an obvious one. He is arguably one of the best racers of the era. Yep. I would argue it. Last year, I think he only had 3 races out of 23 where he didn't win.
Yep.
Like he won so many races last year.
Yeah. No, he did.
This year he's kind of struggling, but also again, the problem with Formula One is that it's not a stock car. So when you are taking into account drivers, you have to take into account car as well.
Yeah.
Which is the problem, because right now the McLaren looks fastest, but I would not put Lando or Oscar Piastri in my top 3. Even though their car is the fastest, they're winning a bunch, I still would not put them in my top 3. I would say right now my top 3: Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
I still think he's really good.
Yeah.
I'm looking. Hold on, I gotta look at these, and I would I put my last one between. I would probably just say Charles Leclerc would be my third, maybe. Just factoring in everything, because obviously Max is really fast. He also loves to wrestle his car.
Yeah.
He can put on some magnificent performances. Lewis Hamilton he won 7 world championships.
Yeah.
And now again, Mercedes had a really good car at the time. But even with Mercedes was struggling like 2 years ago, and he still put in awesome performances. So he's also probably one of the best drivers. And then Charles Leclerc, again, he's driving a Ferrari. It's really fast. Just won last weekend at Ferrari's home race.
Yeah.
And he nursed his tires for like 30 laps, and it was incredible. Like it was beautiful to see him nurse those tires back.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would be my top 3 right now.
Okay.
Who's top 3 in
IndyCar?
Yeah.
IndyCar. I would say number 1 has to be Alex Palou. He won the championship last year.
Yep.
He's been pretty darn good at
I don't keep up with IndyCar.
He's at least he's consistently at the front. He only does have 2 wins on the season, but he's not good. He's not real good at ovals, but he's darn good on road courses. And obviously, he's in first place. He's favorited to win the championship. As long as he finishes the next race, he's gonna win.
I was going to say, wins don't really matter as much in IndyCar, do they?
No, you just got to be consistent and not crash out.
We'll go over point systems, maybe.
Will Power. He's second in points, but just he's been there forever. He's been consistent. He's been good this year, and it's just he's a great driver. I really do like Will Power. He's a New Zealander, Kiwi, just really good. Is he? Wait, hold on. He might. I got to make sure I did say that. He's either Australian. I feel bad if I.
That's New Zealand.
Is it?
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm I don't wanna be wrong.
I feel really keep going bad. On. I'm looking at. He's Australian.
He's straight. Okay, Will Power, Australia. My bad. So willpower. And third, I got to put Colton Herta. He may not be third in the standings, but he's an American. Like I said, he was at one point rumored to possibly get an F1 drive. He obviously didn't, but in IndyCar, he's consistent. He's fourth in the standings. He only has one win, but he's done well with what he's got. He takes what he can get. He gets the points, and I think it was last year when they were talking about him possibly getting an F1 ride, the video that kept circulating was him at the Indy road course, him like drifting his Indy car and saving it like in a turn. And I feel like everyone in the F1 world who was like, oh, he might get an F1 drive, and they just kept showing that clip of him just drifting that Indy car around a corner. And I think, for me, he's a fan favorite. His dad was a IndyCar racer, and he's got some talent, and it's awesome. I think at some point he's going to be an IndyCar champion, whether he has to go to another team or if he sticks with where he's at he's at Andretti, right? Yep, he's at Andretti Motorsports. So I think Colton Herta definitely is a guy to watch out for, and a name you should learn, because I feel like he can win a 500 or win a championship.
That was a great neck crack. I'm sorry. that was.
But no, it's awesome. Yeah, drivers. It's funny that I say one name and you're like, yeah, I know that guy, and it's like you don't. When was the last time you watched an IndyCar race?
Besides the Mid Ohio one that I went to, never. Never actually watched like an actual race.
To be fair, the only IndyCar race I did go to one when they still raced at Michigan, and I went to an IndyCar race in Michigan, and I will say it's crazy how fast they go, and just the sound that those cars make when they go whizzing by.
I went to one when they were still in Kentucky when I was really young.
I was going to say, and that's kind of like, I was going to say, Kentucky was set up like Vegas, because it's kind of like one of those cookie cutter tracks, that mile and a half. But I love mile and a halves. I honestly don't think it matters if it is a mile and a half and it's a cookie cutter track. It's basically the same. But hey, man, it's some of those tracks, really good racing, whether they're the same or not, but it's a shame some of them had to get rid of them. So do you want to talk about point systems here?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'm Reese.
What?
So, okay. I'm just looking. So, fast qualifying entry. So, most laps led, you get 2 points. Leading at least one lap, you get an additional point. If you start on the front or pole position, you get an extra point. Race finishing position, it just goes down from first gets 50, second gets 40, and then 35, 32, 30, 28 in descending order, basically until you get to 25th. Everything after 25th, you get 5 points.
How many are there? How many races are there? Or how many entrants are there?
33, it says.
33? Okay.
33.
Oh.
So that is how it basically just goes down in points from there. It does, like I said.
So again, winning is not everything.
No, you can being consistent in IndyCar, and because that's the other thing too. In IndyCar, a lot of time, you have multiple winners. I can go to I can go to the standings here and see all the people who have won races, and I can tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's spread out 7, and they're pretty spread out decently evenly among it. The most wins is 3 wins, and it's by 3 different drivers who have won 3 races. In Formula 1, you have how many winners has been? I want to say it's like, I'm sorry to take it. It's like, I feel like it's around the same, but it's not. The distribution isn't the same.
Yeah. So oh my gosh, this is not what I wanted. So like in terms of, so like there have been, like Max has won like 8 races.
Yeah.
So I think there's been like 5 or 6 actual race winners.
Because it's Hamilton won. He won.
He won 2.
Lando's won 2. Piastri won 1.
George Russell won 1.
Leclerc won 2. One.
Just one. Carlos Sainz won 1.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Whereas, yeah, you might have the same amount of winners, but when Max has 8 of those wins, it's like, well, the distribution's not there. But again, that can also swing second half of the season when, like you said, car upgrades and everything like that.
Especially over the summer breaks. But
Yep.
yeah, Formula One's much simpler. I think it's much easier to understand. So theirs is it depends on the weekend. So in a traditional race, first they don't get any points depending on where they qualify. None of that stuff. Nothing about lap leading or anything like that. It's just first place gets 25, second gets 18, third 15, 12, 10, all the way down until 10th place where you get 1 point. Everybody who finishes 11th or down, you get nothing. That's it. And then the only kind of bonus thing that they do is that if you record fastest lap of the race, you get 1 point. As long as you are in the top 10, you get 1 extra point.
Yeah.
That's it. That is their entire scoring system. Unless it's a sprint race weekend.
Yep.
So sprint race is something that they did like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right, yeah.
To kind of like spice things up, and it's basically an extra race. So now they used to use it to set qualifying, where top 10 would be of the sprint race would be your top 10 of qualifying. They don't do that anymore. Now it's on a sprint race weekend, which I think they do 6 of them. It goes practice 1, sprint qualifying, practice 2 sprint, and then race on Sunday.
Yep.
And the sprint race is it goes.
No. Wait, I thought don't they do? No, they do sprint qualifying, and then don't they do race qualifying?
Nope.
I thought they did race qualifying.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
And then sprint race points is first gets 8, second gets 7, and then 6, 5, 4, all the way down to 8th place. And then 8th is your cutoff. You get 1 point at 8th place, and then that's it. But yeah, so their system is much easier to understand. It's a lot. There's not as many bonuses. It's just, hey, if whatever you finish in, that's what you get. So unless, obviously shifting the order will happen after like race penalties and things like that. But yeah, whatever you finish that's what your points you're gonna get. That's it.
Yeah, you basically in Formula One you gotta finish top 10.
Yeah.
If you don't finish top 10, you're not getting points.
Which arguably is a lot easier to do.
It is
because there's only 20 of them.
Yep.
So you just got to finish top half.
Yeah. Whereas,
mind you, that's not as easy as for some people. I'm looking at you, Kick Sauber. You don't. Yeah, I mean, as long as you finish top 10, you're fine.
Yep. If you can finish consistently in the points, then it helps you out very much. So.
Yep.
So, you got a question? I was gonna say.
You look like you're primed to pounce.
Again, let's just get to the real question that we're shuffling around and everything. Which one is the more, I guess, elite in the sense of racing? What series do you feel you need to be better at just all around driving?
Formula One. That's my answer. It's not even close. Now, some people are going to get upset with me saying that. My reasoning is, I can't say that it's the best because Lance Stroll's still in there, and he's only there. And he's only there because his dad runs the company. Mm-hmm. Shit.
It's in here, and I'll let you think about that. You can stick with Formula One if you want.
I'm still going to stick with Formula One.
Yeah. So I will say, here's the thing: Formula One has the prestige. They have the history, but. Here's a big thing, but a lot of people are upset because one team most of the time rules the entire kind of league, which that's kind of how it was for a long time with Mercedes.
It's getting better now.
It is, and you're not wrong.
Now.
Like you do have you have 3 teams at the top racing and everything. That it's not just Max going out there and winning because. As some other sports shows on like bigger networks, they talk about or make fun of, well, Formula One's not interesting to watch when it's one car or one dude just going out there and absolutely destroying everyone every week. So it's getting better, but again...
But that's also the victim of the fact that there are, like as we said before, in IndyCar, it's usually... It's Honda Chevy, right?
It's Honda Chevy.
That's it. Here it's a victim of you have so many teams and they're all being supplied by different people. It quite literally is everybody's different.
Yeah.
And it just depends on you know, how well you do. I mean, like, we see a Williams in the top 10 every so often.
Yeah.
Williams was really good back then.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when like the 90s. And now it's like they're
early 2000s.
They're normally lower.
They were
But yeah, it's
competitive,
just.
but-
So
Depends.
prior to the wins and stuff like that, kind of a similar path. Do you think it's harder to get a job as a Formula One driver versus an Indy driver?
Absolutely. So
that might add a little bit.
that was my other point, is the fact that. Thank you. No. That perfectly leads to what I was going to say.
But,
because the problem with Formula One is it literally is the top of the top. It's so difficult to get in.
But
It is.
It could be
Here's
politics. It could be.
Yeah,
Again, that is part of it.
Yeah. My biggest pushback on that is you're sort of right, but you're sort of wrong on that. Because there are drivers who have pushed their way into Formula One due to the fact that they had money or
That's
they
true.
had sponsorship and they got there and they were
That is true.
awful.
But
That is
They
true.
are awful.
So, yeah.
Some people can bully their way in or pay their way in.
Yeah, that is true.
And that's where
But there's not as many anymore. I think
It's-
right now there's only one.
Yeah.
That comes off the top of my head, and it's Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Because
Which-
I don't like him personally.
And that's the thing. And that's why I can't say either one of these. In different retrospects, they're both very good leagues. Because Formula One, you're going all over the world. You're taking this car that so many people have touched, that have put plans together, that have crafted this car into trying to make a fast winning race car. You have so many people hopefully trying their hardest with what resources they have to make a really good race car. IndyCar, they're not really crafting the car. They get the car, they get the motor, they kind of put it together within certain specs and everything like that. But you're going to different tracks. It's more of a, I guess, how do I want to put it? It's more of like a fair field where
it's more driver-centric.
it's more about
more
the
driver-centric.
drivers. It's more about the drivers, because that's the thing. You can put a good driver in an Indy car, and he can go out and compete, and he's going to probably finish where he deserves to finish at that track, depending on how good he is. You put a good driver in a terrible F1 car,
He's not finishing very high.
He's not going to finish high. He's going to finish where that car, or however far he's going to push that car, will let him finish.
I think that stands to Sean's point earlier about McLaren.
Yeah.
Their car seeming the fastest, but their driver's not being in his top three.
Yeah.
Because the car is really fast doesn't mean that they're going to be in top three.
So Formula One is very car centric.
Yes.
Yeah, it is more
And
car.
it is-
Although,
from what I have heard,
But-
in the very few things that I've heard about Formula One, they talk about the cars
Yeah.
almost more than
yeah,
the drivers.
yeah,
Yeah.
But there are, in both series, there are blips where you could put a bad driver in an Indy car and they could do really well. You could put a good driver in a Formula One car and they could, or sorry, I messed that up. You could put in the Formula One terms, you can put a really bad, or you can put a good driver in a bad car and they can still
make it
still make it top 10.
They can make it look good.
Take Nick DeVries,
yeah.
for example.
Made multiple cars look good.
2 years ago, he jumped into a
Williams.
I'm gonna use it for emphasis. A shitbag Williams that was awful, and he punted that thing into 8th.
Yeah.
It earned him a drive. He got on a radar. He got into an AlphaTauri car. I mean, he sucked.
Yeah, he didn't do
afterwards,
well. Yeah,
But
yeah, no, it's one of those things where just
There's merit to both leagues.
yes,
yeah, there's
Yes.
merit. Like I will say, F1's been around, is an established brand.
Yeah.
It has been around.
I do enjoy
People know-
watching it more.
Yeah,
than IndyCar.
Yeah,
personally.
IndyCar. Like I said, it is broken apart. It has come together. It is broken apart and it's come together. There's been controversies and everything like that. Yep. But again, IndyCar's always had the Indy 500.
Yep.
That's the best redeeming quality you
Sacred.
can think of. But for the most part, like I said, IndyCar, you have multiple different tracks because you go to street courses, you go to road courses, you go to ovals. Yes, F1 goes to street courses and road courses. They don't go to ovals. Probably
Not
for
an
good.
oval- not
Probably
an oval
we'll
fan.
never do
Not
it
an oval
due to the
fa-
fact
not an
that
oval guy.
that would just be absolutely the most insane thing you could do.
And it would also be it might be boring. It might be boring.
I don't know
track.
if they use DRS, it ain't gonna be
Oh,
boring.
Jesus.
So in terms of comparing the leagues, give me a comparison that my mind can. Are we talking Like, are we talking like Truck Series to Xfinity Series? What are we talking? We made the comparison of Premier League versus MLS, but I feel like that's too much of a gap there.
That is way too much of a gap.
Yeah, I would put it. How do I want to put it? It's
give me a good comparison.
You know what?
Regardless of what.
Yeah, you know what might be good? I think a good one would be the NBA and like European basketball.
Yes, that's actually I was trying to think of something.
So you know how they always say like, oh, the European fans, like if you go to the Baltic states and you're watching like a Serbian basketball game, it's insane, right? I would put like European basketball and NBA are two of like the biggest basketball leagues in the world.
Is still there. It's just different
vibes.
It's
Oh yeah.
F1 is I would say it's Europeans and everything like that. They take that sport so serious. Like Italians at the Italian Grand Prix, they want Ferrari to win so bad.
Yeah.
They want nothing more than Ferrari to win. That's all that matters to them. Whereas in Formula One, not Formula One, sorry, in IndyCar, when you go to the Indy 500.
It's insane.
It's insane. You're there and you're hoping just for a good finish. Yeah, that's really all you're hoping for. You're hoping for this is going to be a really good moment. You might have a driver in mind, but if he doesn't win, if you get a good finish, you're fine with that.
Another good one, comparison because I know you're a huge baseball guy, would be the MLB and Japan.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Japan is crazy about baseball.
Yeah.
I've seen a Japanese baseball game. It's one of my favorite things to watch. Like if there's nothing else on.
During COVID, South Korean baseball, that was.
Yeah. No, it's like that's the thing. F1 will always have the edge over IndyCar due to the fact of how established it is.
Yeah, that is true.
IndyCar isn't like
it's not bad.
Is there a money difference?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Investments into cars, into teams, in
sponsorship, dude. It's IndyCar. Yeah, F1 has
F1's got the edge on that.
Well, F1's popularity has skyrocketed, which you're seeing a lot more advertisement. You're seeing so much more exposure in the United States. IndyCar is just they're kind of just riding. They're just hoping that when you watch a NASCAR race on NBC that they can throw, hey, IndyCar's on, and it's because that's the thing. Everyone's going to tune in for the 500. After that, who knows how many people will actually follow? Because that's the thing. I knew the point standings going into the Indy 500. I bet very few people knew who was actually leading the championship when they went to the 500. But that's the thing. You got young guys or guys who couldn't, I guess, they were in F1 and they either retired or they lost their ride, but they were halfway decent. They get IndyCar rides. If they want to keep racing, they can. I know Juan Pablo Montoya, who not only raced in F1, not only raced in NASCAR, but he raced in IndyCar. So that guy, he went through the circuit. He was good in F1. Maybe not as good. I want to say he might have won a championship in IndyCar, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. We'll let anyone else figure that out. But there have been guys who have gone around the circuit, who have gone in and out. Tony Stewart was in the IndyCar. He went to NASCAR. There are guys that will just. But that's the thing. Going from stock car to open wheel, pretty hard. But you've seen a lot of some IndyCar guys go into stock car racing. You haven't really seen a lot of guys go from Formula One to IndyCar to stock car. A few guys have tried, hasn't really worked out for them very well, but IndyCar will always be a step behind F1. F1's brand has really built itself back due to the fact of obviously documentaries and shows that have really just piqued American interest in F1. But yeah, no, F1 has to be better, but I love watching racing. I love on Sundays, if there's an IndyCar race, I'll watch the IndyCar race, I'll watch the NASCAR race, I'll watch the F1 race. I love watching all of them. I love watching racing. But out of IndyCar, Formula One, it's the best.
Yep.
Well, I think that's pretty good. I think we got all the opinions out there and talking about it. So let's wrap this up, Sean. Let's
I forgot about this.
A question.
I forgot about
jar
this.
so we can.
As long as this isn't like my Quisp thing like last time.
There's a name on it.
There is not a name on it. Anonymous. Either that or it's Grohl.
No, probably.
Ooh. All right. Do you think you could get a base hit off of an MLB pitcher? Absolutely not.
Can I bunt?
That doesn't count as a hit. Because that means you're going to have to outrun him. That means you're going to have to outrun him.
I think, my knee.
Yeah,
I was about to say my knee
Are
too.
you going to outrun him?
Do I have to have
I'm not-
intact knee?
I'm not going to say I can outrun him. I will try my best.
Hold on. No, there's a
I'll
second
throw a
part. There's a
shoulder
second
out
part.
there.
So what the question was, can you out?
Do you think you could get a base hit off of an MLB pitcher?
No.
No shot.
No shot.
Absolutely
No
not.
shot.
What about a minor leaguer?
No.
I can't.
I would try.
My baseball skills
I would
are
try,
atrocious.
but
They're still throwing-
I'm just going
Yeah.
to tell you I'm terrible at batting, so probably no in
What do you
both
think?
regards.
Okay, so I'm changing the question a little bit. Yeah, you get 100 pitches. What is the lowest?
Speed.
What? No. What is the lowest division? Maybe I guess would be a way to say it. Like MLB minors, AAA, single A. What would be the lowest division you think you could get 10 off of out of 100 pitches?
Independent league. I mean,
Hi-
like
High A?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll say high A because I know I feel like I have a shot. I think I could get a hit at high A, which is just like college guys playing summer league. I feel like I could.
That's fair. I
like,
could get behind that.
Like if you give me, if I face 10 pitchers, I feel like I could hit one off
give
them.
me Paul Skeens right now.
Polsky. Yeah, no. High A guys.
I don't think that.
Hi.
it would be Paul
And
Skeens.
I just want to give a shout out to what I'm wearing because we
Sean,
just
you
said
good?
Sorry, Notre Dame just got upset
nice.
Did they really?
by Northern Illinois after being a 28.5-point favorite.
Well,
Sorry, that just came up across my screen and I just went fucking like bonkers. My bad.
Well, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're listening to this. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Hopefully this doesn't remind you of it when this comes out, but well.
Anyway.
Sean, thank you for coming, talking racing, just like old times, and if you've listened to us this long, thank you very much. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode.